Unit 7, Poetry of Henry Vaughan. This time the poem is The World. The World is a famous poem written by Henry Vaughan, speaks on the theme of the ways of men and women risk their place in eternity by violating earthly pleasures over God. The poem highlights the theme that how one night the poet saw the eternity. It appeared as a bright ring of light. In a single line, I could say that the theme of the poem is salvation and eternal life, peace and happiness exist only through God. Life is not devoted to God, but it is a way by which you can reach salvation. The vain pursuits of this life must be abandoned. Let me give a brief biography of Henry Vaughan, a very famous poet who born on April 23, I'm sorry, in the year 1695, who is an Anglo-Welsh poet, a very famous writer of his age. He was educated at Oxford and he studied law in London. When the Civil War broke out, he remained there in the rest of his life. Sorry. In the year 1646, he started writing his poem. His first work is Poems with the 10th Satire of Genuine English. And the volumes 2 is published in the year 1647. His famous poems are his Silex Scintillance, The Glittering Flint, The Mount of Olives, Solitary Devotions. This is the original text of the poetry, The World. Let me explain the critical analysis of the poem. In the first stanza of the poem, the speaker begins by describing one special night in his life. He saw eternity. He recalls that night, a memorable one in his life. His sight changes his perspective on the world. He found it is calmness and brightness. Nothing man could do or create would compare. In the following lines, the speaker describes a doting lover who is quaint in his actions and spends his time complaining. This is one of a number of characters Vaughan speaks about residing on earth. They are intentionally describing in demeaning terms in order to lessen one regard for human troubles and emotion. The following lines, he talks about the person's thoughts. He carries with him all the woes of others. The man has caused great pain due to his position. Now the speaker is able to infer these things about him due to the way he moved. The man did not seem to have anywhere in particular he needed to be. In the second stanza, he focuses on the depth of human being can human being sink into. Just like the previous stanza, the speaker is passing judgment on this person who is unable to shake off his past and the clouds of crying witness. The man is like a mole who walks underground, away from the eyes of most of his population. Now the speaker moves to the discussion on in an emotional way. He says that the fear is always like thieves that will extend his own hand that would misplace some priest position. The final stanza, he concludes the poem by discussing how there are many kinds of people in the world and all of them strive for happiness. They might weep and sing or try to soar into the ring of eternity. The men and women use no wing thou. There is a reference to the necessity of God in order to reach the brightness of the ring. If one does not embrace God, the trip is going to be unsuccessful. This is how Vaughan concludes the poem, The World. Let me summarize the poem. The central idea of the poem is attained spiritually through the guidance of the God. So in the poem, he brings out a moral as well as a lack of happiness. And he proves that he is a metaphysical poet by using some metaphysical elements, and that has been presented in a religious way that attains religious as well as the spiritual. The poem is enriched with the literary devices such as metaphor, simile, conceits, and alliteration that helps to heighten the poetic themes that concern. And also, the poem is highly biblical, and he offers a solution to the people who are engaged with worldly material and power, that they need to embrace God in their life to attain happiness and find true eternity. So, this is an advice to the modern man who engaged with the material happiness, who enjoys the power, but he has forgotten to embrace God in his life in order to attain the highest happiness and the true eternity. So these are all the key terms which help you to understand the text, and these are all the terminal questions. Thank you.